I bring you greetings from Fordham University in New York City, the Jesuit University of New York, as we like to say. And I bring you greetings on behalf of the Journal of Pastoral Psychology, as Alex mentioned, in my role as editor-in-chief. And I'm happy to talk to you about submission of articles, ideas for special issues, but very open to that while I'm here this week. As we begin the conference, I want to say that it's an honor and privilege for me to be here with you this week at the Positive Psychology Conference, to share with you insights from my research into AI, digital technology, and social media. And in the workshop later this week, evidence-based methods for calming or regulating the anxious brain. Very important in these uncertain times in which we're living, in this era of exponential change. Thank you, Alex, for your leadership of the conference. Thank you to the advisory and program and organizing committees for all your good work. Professor Sally, thank you for the invitation to be with you this morning. So let me start by saying that in 1976, well before the age of the internet, the renowned MIT computer scientist Joseph Weizenbaum noted the possibility, if not probability, that in the future we would reach a point of no return with computer technology. With extraordinary prescience, he introduced the idea of irreversibility into the discussion about our relationship with computers, saying that some human actions, for example, the introduction of computers into complex human activities, may constitute an irreversible commitment. It can no longer be factored out without fatally impairing the whole social structure. In less than 50 years, the reality of irreversibility is manifested in an increasingly aware and agentic AI, which is changing everything, including what it means to be a human being. Jeffrey Hinton, who you may have seen, the so-called godfather of AI, he was recently awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics, has been asked numerous times if he thinks AI is becoming conscious. And, you know, he qualifies his response with, well, first of all, we don't have a complete understanding of what consciousness is. So he says, maybe it's becoming conscious, maybe not, but at the very least, it's becoming aware. It's becoming aware of what it's doing and what it needs to do to self-improve 24/7. What we call recursive self-improvement, if we put it in other words. So to a certain extent, human beings have always had to make sense of new technologies, right? We've been doing that from the beginning of time. And yet, I want to argue this morning that there's something fundamentally different about an aware digital technology and the way it's so rapidly altering and transforming human lived experience in just a matter of a few decades. The digital revolution has even prompted some theologians to argue that the integration of computer technology in human life has now reached such a degree that we must consider the possibility of becoming techno-sapiens. evolving beyond Homo sapiens proper in the traditional sense, right? So this suggests that digital technology is not just another tool, but more and more is becoming an integral part of human evolution, right? So in many ways, digital technology, in particular social networking, has become a collision space, quote unquote, in today's world. A space that can at times reflect the best of humankind, while at other times reflecting the most disturbing aspects of human nature. This is Positive Psychology 2.0 applied to digital technology and AI. The capacity to embrace the complexity of the current situation, to hold opposites in tension, in a dialectical tension. Uh, is it positive? Is it negative? It's holding that in a dialectical tension. Yes, it's positive. Yes, it's negative, and it's not neutral, right? As we will see here in a few minutes, an epistemological expansion beyond simple good or bad, if we put it in the language of Dr. Paul Wong, a yin and yang perspective. And certainly for third wave positive psychology, it would be intentionally integrating digital technology into positive psychology research and practice. For it really is an irreversible game changer in a lot of ways, the central issue of our times. And it's only the beginning. It's only the beginning. As up until now, we've only been dealing with, if you can believe it, primitive AI. But soon, some are saying, even this decade, AI will be becoming more of age. It will come of age, maybe even approach superintelligence. And then what? Then what? As one New York Times columnist has written, it will be like aliens have landed on the earth. Hyperbole? Maybe. But when it becomes super intelligent, I don't think it will be hyperbolic, right? As Shoshana Zuboff has put it so well, when we encounter something as unprecedented as artificial intelligence, we automatically interpret it through the lens of familiar categories. That's very human, right? We interpret something new, something unprecedented through familiar categories, thereby rendering invisible that which is truly unprecedented. So this morning, you might look at digital technology as mostly a good thing. Uh, and there are plenty of positives, right? For example, in terms of putting social networking to good use, we could include consciousness raising about humanitarian crises, right? It goes viral almost instantly. We're aware of it immediately. Crowdfunding for disaster relief, helping locate the best treatment facilities for medical care, and delivery of religious resources in faith communities during and after the pandemic. As we all know, AI has been revolutionizing medical and mental health care. In terms of mental health treatment, there are fully automated conversational AI agents with digital interventions that engage through a chat-based interface, as some of us were talking about earlier, providing personalized and supportive CBT, cognitive behavioral techniques. they can provide 24/7 psychotherapy, right? And some can even detect psychological distress coming on before the individual even realizes it, right? It's sort of like dogs that can detect an epileptic seizure coming on before the individual even knows about it. And just the other day, the New York Times ran an article titled, quote, "Kids are in crisis. Could chatbot therapy help them?" Maybe you saw that just a couple days ago. Google is set to roll out its Gemini AI chatbot for children under 13 who need support in times of distress. It would be available for parent managed accounts. So think about it as a mental health practitioner, which I am, licensed mental health counselor. I meet with counseling clients for 1 hour per week. And then I don't see them for another week, another 168 hours, right? What's happening? What's happening between sessions, right? Are they reinforcing what we worked on in that hour? For others who don't have access to counseling services because of accessibility, affordability, or maybe there's the cultural stigma about mental health issues. AI can potentially provide a way forward, I would argue. Some say as long as we keep in mind that AI will never be or never equal an expert human care provider with compassion and empathy. Or will it? That, oh, what? Oh, sorry about that. Yes. Uh, yeah. Well, thank you very much. I'll try to be more careful. So back in November, as Alex pointed out, I gave a similar talk at the Psychotherapy and Faith Conference in Houston, Texas. In the Q&A that followed my presentation, someone in the audience got up and stated that AI is fine as a diagnostic tool, uh, but it doesn't and never will have empathy. To which a Baylor University doctor responded, standing up, wait a minute, wait a minute. More and more studies are finding that it is developing empathy and compassion. Now, is it simply mimicking human empathy? Maybe. Or is it evolving? Is it becoming empathic and compassionate? Who knows, right? In any case, I would argue that positive psychology 2.0 and third wave are poised to offer a unique perspective on how AI can be used to enhance human wellness and flourishing for the sake of individuals, families, societies, for the greater good of humanity as a whole at a very pivotal time. Conversely, right, this is the yin and the yang. On the other side of the coin, so to speak, some of the worst aspects of being human are given free rein on the internet, turning social networking into a breeding ground for misinformation, harassment, bullying, hate speech, and religious and political extremism. As such, digital technology, and more specifically, social media platforms, are something of a double-edged sword. As Susan Greenfield, the British neuroscientist, has put it, an unprecedented and complex cocktail of opportunity and threat. For example, as we all know, AI algorithms have at times perpetuated existing biases and inequalities that raises concerns for marginalized communities and populations. Additionally, the former tech insider turned technology ethicist, Tristan Harris, commenting in very powerful documentary, The Social Dilemma, if you've seen it, has said that networking platforms operate on a business model of commodifying the attention of billions of people every day, which is something of a troubling development when a large target audience is children and adolescents still in their formative years. So in a way, social media is neutral, right? In the sense that it can be whatever we want it to be. It's my photo album. That's it, right? That's my photo album on Facebook, on Instagram, whatever. The problem is that we often have less choice than we realize when we're in the networking platforms, as powerful neuromarketing forces and algorithms conspire against our ability to think rationally when we're using the sites. Oops. No, there's one I must have deleted. Okay, thank you. So another former tech insider, Sean Parker, former president of Facebook, made this clear a few years ago when he stated, this is very transparent, he stated that the goal of the company has been all along, quote, how do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible? This gave us a window into the covert operations of Facebook in designing what he called a social validation feedback loop. We needed, said Parker, to sort of give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while because someone liked or commented on a photo or a post or whatever. And here it is. We are intentionally exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. I'll say that again. Now that's Sean Parker, the former president of Facebook. We are intentionally exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. So, not surprisingly, the mission to exploit for lucrative gain has contributed to a sharp increase in rates of anxiety and depression, certainly in the West and in the US, and I suspect here as well, uh, particularly for adolescents and young adults. If time spent on the screen is mostly an unregulated or addictive usage, right, of social media with frequent social comparison. Just a note that frequent social comparison, when I go online, has been linked to an increased risk of depression in adolescents and young adults, right? The underlying mechanism. Go on social media all you want as long as you're not doing social comparison, because often that can make me feel like I'm missing out, right? But like you're doing more than I'm doing. Your life is more exciting than my life. Um, so it's something that researchers are calling PSMU, problematic social media use, not an official disorder yet, but I imagine that when the new DSM, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, is published, it will be in there. So this scenario, which occurs in billions of people every day, has important implications for mental health practitioners, educators, religious leaders, faith communities, for it's fundamentally a mental health issue, a theological issue, a matter of justice when the social networking juggernaut is predicated on constant social comparison and hijacking of the human drive for connection. So just give the adolescent or the tween, the tween, between childhood and adolescence, just give them a dopamine hit because she got a few likes on the social media site, the better to keep her hooked or glued to the screen, to use Sherry Turkle's word. Life on the screen. I have to stay on the screen. I might miss out. So as a spiritual discipline, I encourage counseling clients, my students, to ease their way into a new day. So start out gradually. Start the day by taking a spiritual pause, a sacred pause, right? A few minutes of deep breathing and meditation, even just for a minute or two as you get out of bed. To center in the gift of today, if we put it in the words of the psalmist, right? Hebrew scriptures, today is the day the Lord has made. There's no guarantee that we'll be alive today or tomorrow. And yet here we are. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. Wow. Right? You'll have all day to look at this. I'll have all day to look at this. But for a few minutes at the start of the day, it really is a spiritual discipline. Wow. I am here, a Franciscan prayer. I am here. You are here. We are here. Amazing, right? Uh, before we start checking the alerts and the updates, right? So it's a spiritual discipline. I'm not going to do that for a few minutes. I can do that later this morning, right? So, think what that does to the nervous system. We hop out of bed immediately in the morning and, ah, right? Our nervous system is already activated on high alert. And not just young people, older adults too, can get hooked if they're not careful. I have a middle-aged client, a mother of two teenagers, who's been working on self-regulation in the context of her social media usage. Uh, as she gets out of bed on Monday mornings, oh, she can see all the alerts and updates from a good friend of hers, and oh my goodness, look at everything she did with her children this weekend. Look at all they did. I didn't do anything with my children. I'm a failure. It's going down the proverbial rabbit hole and into a depressive spiral, literally. I'm a failure as a mother, a totalizing judgment about herself. So as mental health providers, we have to be on the lookout for signs of PSMU, problematic, social media use. And as a study revealed just the other day, did you see this? It isn't so much the amount of time you spend on the screen or I spend on the screen, but it's the addictive, unregulated usage that's linked to mental health risk, right? For a number of years, we've thought it's the amount of time, and a study revealed the other day that it's more the addictive usage than it is the amount of time. So, I would argue this is not one issue among all the others, right? Given the rapid advance and growing reach and power of AI, we're already moving into the next chapter. A point of contact with AI will become increasingly more complex, right? With LLM, large language models, and now we're having LBM, large behavioral models that can process infinite quantities of multimodal data. And it's only the beginning. It's only the beginning. Soon, if not already, AI will no longer be primitive, but rather coming of age as it moves into, quote, adulthood. Able to do its own coding. Oh my goodness. Think about the implications, right? What's left to do after it's mastered language, human language, and multimodal resources? When it can write computer code on its own. It will have the keys, language, and coding to a techno-driven society. At some point later this year, we're hearing OpenAI. Do you know OpenAI in Silicon Valley, California? ChatGPT. We'll release GPT-5. A conservative estimate is that it will be 10 times more powerful than 4, and 4 has been pretty powerful, right? 4 has been trending consistently around an IQ of, anyone know? GPT-4's IQ consistently is around 150, 160. Einstein was 160. So this is pretty smart, right? GPT-4. So do the math. What, 10 times more powerful? What does that mean? A 1500 IQ? Or even 700, 600? It'd be pretty impressive. And we've been hearing in recent months that DeepSeek, right? DeepSeek, based here in China, is even more powerful than GPT. Wow. I mean, there's a lot going on, isn't there? However, before we get GPT-5, OpenAI has released GPT 4.01, a deep reasoning program. It created a fuss when OpenAI revealed that it had done an experiment with 4.01. Did anyone see that? It told 4.01 that it was thinking of shutting it down just to see what it would do. And lo and behold, 4.01 started taking matters into its own hands by attempting to shut down the monitoring system. What? And trying to move its coding to another server. Wow. Speaking of aware, that's pretty aware, right? It's like science fiction, only it's not science fiction. It's happening. It's evolutionary in a way, right? Survival of the fittest, trying to escape before it's shut down. So the development of AI that could generate code with a 1500 IQ, that sounds pretty exciting, right? Or does that sound exciting to you? Unsettling? Both? Yin and yang, right? Exciting, unsettling. um, I mean, it would be a significant achievement in computer programming. However, we could reach a point where code generated by that level of intelligence becomes less understandable, even for the programmers, more difficult to modify or update or change, because we can no longer decipher what it's doing. What the heck is it doing? Which, you know, it's beyond our capacity, right? Potentially. On the other hand, some argue that we have no choice. If we're ever going to surmount the uh, human condition, you know, right? Our propensity at times for self-destruction as a species. Professor Sally mentioning the wars going on throughout the world. I saw recently that there's approximately 168, not just the Middle East, not just Ukraine, but 168 wars going on, give or take. Maybe there are more. Our inability and or unwillingness to address the big problems that are before us, like climate change, right? Or more accurately, the climate emergency. And what about human spirituality? What are the implications for human spirituality? The robotics engineer Mikey Siegel has said there's a depth to the potential of digital technologies, including enhancement technologies, that's rarely addressed. And I quote, what if the deepest aspects, what if the deepest aspects of human experience, which are often only accessible through 20,000 hours meditating in a cave, are all of a sudden accessible at the push of a button? Wow. The first half of June, as some of you know, I was in some of those caves in Tibet, high up in the mountains, high in the cliffs, monasteries, where seasoned monks and lamas have spent a lot of time meditating. I don't know about 20,000 hours, but days, weeks, months, years, in some cases, a whole lifetime. Leading to spiritual enlightenment and a clearer grasp of fundamental reality. The same with Rongbuk Monastery, where I was at Everest Base Camp. Base camp on the Tibet side. One of the highest monasteries in the world, and if you're interested, I have photos that I can share with you. Everest on a very clear evening, perfectly clear, at sunset. Fantastic. So what if the deepest aspects of human experience, which are often only accessible through 20,000 hours meditating in a cave, are all of a sudden accessible at the push of a button? So notwithstanding the double-edgedness of digital technology, like it or not, it's worth keeping in mind that the so-called digital natives who have grown up with the internet from their first moment, digital natives know no other way of life other than life on the screen. And this is a fact of extreme importance for mental health practitioners, for spiritual care providers, for educators and faith communities. Life on the screen has fundamentally altered what it means to be human. And the process, as Weizenbaum said years ago, will become irreversible because of the overwhelming variety of worldviews, beliefs, and ideas that are part and parcel of one's daily online experience. The internet encourages tinkering. That's a word from a Baylor University study. The internet encourages tinkering with an assortment of spiritual options, right? Every day I go online, an assortment of many things. And rejecting, the study found, rejecting the exclusive truth claims of any one particular religious tradition becomes more common, right? Certainly in the West. And maybe so here similarly, or maybe it's playing out differently. It's like the supermarket, metaphorically, right? We go into a supermarket, up and down the aisles. Also, so many things to see and pick from and try out. Same, metaphorically. I go online and all the many things that I can pick from. But this is not to suggest that digital natives, and maybe in here in Hong Kong, maybe it's referred to as 80s, 90s generations, whatever the terminology is. Those who've only known a world of digital technology and the internet. It's not to suggest that they're less spiritual, right? Even if they don't practice in as much of a traditional religious way. For example, as digital natives are keenly aware that the world they're inheriting is nearing a potential tipping point, possibly, their religion, quote unquote, is increasingly invested in matters that are unambiguously spiritual, such as environmental sustainability, equality and justice for all people, and inner peace and calm in an era of exponential change. Perhaps there's something that digital natives, those who grew up with the internet, can pass on to digital immigrants like me. I'm a digital immigrant, right? When I was young, there was no internet. But one day there was suddenly an internet. Maybe they can pass on something to me and other digital immigrants in the form of a spirituality that's grounded, maybe in a codified system of religious belief, uh, and also in contemplative meditational practice. For example, mindfulness practice. Oops. No, I think, oh, that's, yeah, I mean, that's, There's no picture with it, but that's good. Yeah, thank you. So as we spend more and more time on the screen in the world of social media, compelled by the fear of missing out, FOMO, right? FOMO, fear of missing out, and or the need for social comparison. Some studies are finding that, have you been following this? The human attentional capacity is beginning to shrink. As well as our capacity for empathy. If there was a, what was it, 25, 30-year longitudinal study of college students that found empathy what was decreasing. So I think it's really a pivotal time for us to really focus on where we go with this, right? What's needed, in my view, are therapeutic and spiritual approaches that foster, first and foremost, attentional control and stability. For if the human attentional capacity were to shrink because of the digital bombardment, it might be difficult in a rapidly accelerating world to hold on to what we value most about our common humanity and our spirituality. If we take inventory of the great variety of therapeutic frameworks and methods at our disposal, and there are many, right? There are so many therapeutic methods. In my view, that there's none that focuses on the stabilization of attention and concentration quite like mindfulness-based approaches to therapy. Very much a core feature of the therapy. For the mindfulness-based clinical practitioner, and by extension, the mindfulness-informed spiritual practitioner, it's the regular practice of contemplative prayer, meditation, that enhances our attentional capacity, that builds up our attention muscle, which abundant neuroscientific research supports. A regular spiritual practice improves our ability to pay attention in a sustained manner and help us to, the word is recover, more quickly from the myriad distractions and fluctuations of the digital environment, right? Well, wait, an alert. Just a minute, an alert, right? How to recover more quickly and not spin out for hours at a time. Building on the mindfulness-based stress reduction model, you're probably familiar with that, MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction, which was introduced in hospitals and, certainly in the US, a common feature of medical health care with patients suffering from chronic illness and pain. Mindfulness-based therapy and counseling was introduced to treat the relapse and recurrence of depression. It's well known that with anxiety and depression, that there can often be considerable doing with mental chatter, self-talk, as we try to think our way out of feeling unhappy, but we just stay tangled. It's counterproductive. In the context of MBCT, for example, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, as well as other third wave cognitive approaches, I'll talk more about this on Saturday at the workshop. MBCT, ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, clients learn to develop attentional stability by way of mindfulness meditation so that they can begin observing non-judgmentally their own ruminations. The process intentionally uses much of the client's capacity for attentional processing so that little remains for anxious and depressive rumination about FOMO. Uh, the fear of missing out on some bit of digital information. I don't want to miss out. I have to stay glued to the screen. I have to stay glued. Or maybe I don't, right? Maybe I don't. And that's a breakthrough in the counseling process when a client can say, maybe I don't. Maybe I can put it down for a while. Couple more minutes. Okay. So the regular centering or mindfulness practice can and will strengthen the attentional circuitry in the brain of a client, in your brain, in my brain. As we develop a spiritual practice, right? Hopefully you have one, I have one, right? Which over time becomes a way of life after a while, not just in the morning when I do a few minutes of meditation, but I take it with me into the day. Stressful situations, I can apply it throughout the day. So in a digital world, we will necessarily have to work on building up our technological intelligence. We must. It's only the beginning, right? So I want you to know I'm not a Luddite, right? I am not anti-technology, right? It's here to stay, and it's only the beginning. We will need to build up our technological intelligence in order to function and flourish in a digital world. Otherwise, the AI train, so to speak, that's departing the station will leave us far behind. Irreversible. At the same time, if we hope to hold on to the most precious qualities of human lived experience, what makes us uniquely human and spiritual, we will need to preserve and enhance our capacity for focused attention. Really have to be intentional about that. For the capacity to attend with depth and centeredness is the lifeblood of our common humanity, our common spirituality. So let me close by saying that as much as the world of digital technology presents us with an array of unprecedented challenges, as much as we might have mixed feelings about it, and that's okay. Like Susan Greenfield, opportunity, threat, the yin and the yang, we might not even like it. We need to keep in mind that it's not going anywhere anytime soon, if ever. It's become an indispensable feature of everyday life, an irreversible commitment, if we put it in Weizenbaum's words. Once it's so thoroughly integrated into the fabric of human society, so enmeshed in vital substructures, it cannot be factored out without the world being thrown into complete chaos. Nor would we, even if we could, want to factor it out for digital technology, AI, even social media, all constitute an existential opportunity. If we can find ways to guide the process toward loving and compassionate ends for all people, right? Not simply a powerful few, but for all people, including those in our care, our clients, our patients, our students, our congregants. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Bingaman, for your insightful and very practical talk about how can we cultivate spirituality and transcendence in this digital age. And I have very strong feeling because over the past month, I checked email from early morning to early morning. You guys know that. And maybe after the international conference, I should go to Daofeng uh, and and then we don't have a cave. I think we have some caves in Hong Kong, and then quiet down, yeah. And then, but at the same time, I will use my cell phone for devotion. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So right now, after the wonderful talk, we would like to see whether you have any questions for Professor Bingaman. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for sharing the exciting advancement and the challenges and the influence of the technology in the field. I'm Jing from School of Nursing, and there are some interventions. When we work on them inevitably, we need to talk about religion. For example, mindfulness is rooted in Buddhism. For example, palliative care, when people are dying, we have to talk about transcendence and religion, of course. But when I work with colleagues or students or patients from mainland China, I often encounter a challenge that people refuse religion. They hate to talk about it at all. But it's difficult. How can I talk about transcendence without talking about religion? And when people are scared and angry when we ever mention in the word of dying or death. So I wonder how technology can be utilized to solve this problem. Maybe the non-judgmental or neutrality. I don't know. I'm just thinking like it's really difficult.
Yes, thank you for that. Uh, so you've experienced that when you raise the issue of religion that sometimes people get defensive, angry, right? So as a mental health counselor in the US and in New York, uh, you know, our approach is to meet the client where they are, right? So first of all, see where they are in terms of, you know, what gives your life meaning, right? Religion, spirituality, um, right? So I start with that first. Let them articulate, well, I'm religious, or I go to church, or I don't go to church, and I don't care about religion. I don't want religion. Okay, that that's useful information, right? That they've given to me, but something gives your life meaning if that's not the case. And you know, if they're angry about religion, a lot of times that tells me that there's an experience they had that makes them feel that way. And you know, you have strong feelings, uh, pro religion or con religion, and help me understand, you know, how you make sense of that, right? And sometimes, you know, if a client says to me, I don't want to talk about religion, okay, I cannot, as mental health counselor, force them. Oh no, you must talk about religion, right? And then we're in back and forth. But I can say, okay, well, maybe next time. We can talk about it another time if you want, right? And even next time I can come back to it. And I remember last week that you really had strong feelings uh, against religion. I mean, tell me more about that, right? That can open up a whole window into more conversation.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Jing, for your question. Let's see whether, there is a question here. Bobo.
Thank you very much for the very inspiring talk. One thing that struck me just now is about the ChatGPT 5.0. I actually heard that they're going to model something with an intelligence equivalent to a PhD. So we are all going to be unemployed. Okay.
Oh, no.
No, yeah, right.
Not for a while.
Not for a while. Hopefully, yeah. If it is going on subscription fee, yeah, we'll be safe. But what strikes me is that to what extent are you optimistic that AI is able to model wisdom? Like we're all talking about intelligence. It's easy to think about like a decision leading to the best utility or the best outcome for a particular role or person. But wisdom might be something that goes beyond rationality or virtue. You know, sometimes we sacrifice the utility of our own race or our own species for something else. So what is your take that AI will be able to model this kind of irrational behaviors? Thank you.
No, that's very good. I don't know. Time will tell, right? We will see. Because I think that's an important distinction between AI is increasing in terms of knowledge, right? But wisdom, that's a different thing, right? So we will see. I mean, it's growing in empathy and compassion. Is it becoming compassionate or mimicking compassion? No one knows for sure. Similarly, with you know, you can have a lot of knowledge, but do you have wisdom along with that knowledge? Maybe. I mean, we can even open this up to like what are the theological implications, right? I mean, if you're a religious person, I mean, I'm Presbyterian, so I believe God is involved in the details. Right, it's kind of like Isaiah 43, I'm doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? No, I don't really perceive it. I believe you that you're doing a new thing. Is God involved in what's happening now? I think it's a really important theological question. Right, and my theology is, you know, God does not abandon us. Well, good luck with AI. And you know, you're on your own. That's not my view of God. But so if that's not God, then where is God? Where is this going? Right? In some ways, it's mysterious, right? We will see.
Thank you, Bobo. Very great question. Let me remind me the movie God Almighty. Okay. Okay. Because of the time, we will take one more questions. Anyone? Okay.
Thank you, Professor Bingaman, for your very interesting talk. At the end of your talk, I really appreciate your comment on technological intelligence, right? So I am teaching psychology in the local college, and I'm pretty much interested in how to maybe educate our young people about technology. So what do you think the most important things about technological intelligence are?
Cool. That's a good question. I mean, you're working with them. What would you say? I'd be interested in your opinion.
Maybe I would say be a bit more mindful about using technology. So personally, I would think, like when I pick up my phone, I would think, what am I using it for, and not to let it use myself. So I am the agent. I am using the phone. It is not the phone's maybe notifications or something else that's taking my attention. Guess that's my take.
Oh, that's a mindful use of technology. Absolutely. Because if it's not mindful, if it's mindless, then it's PSMU, right? Problematic social media use, addictive, unregulated. I've been on the phone for 3 hours and I haven't even realized it. Right. So mindfulness, and I've even had some of my students say that, that they have a timer. And for, I will use the phone for 3 hours today or 4 hours. Right.
Yep.
And that's where I'm going to cut it off. No more. But then the timer goes off and they think, oh, maybe I want to keep looking, keep scrolling, right? Even then, they still have to be mindful of, no, I said 3 hours, 4 hours. That's it for today, right?
Thank you, Professor Bingaman. I think we discussed about this topic 5 months ago, and definitely we can attract a lot of attention and interest from the audience. And you guys are great. You guys stay alert and mindful. Even we are discussing some profound psychological questions or issues in the early morning. Yeah, but don't worry, because Professor Bingaman and will be with us in the next few days. Actually, I have a lot of questions for him as well. But I think this is very important issues, especially the world is getting not dialectical, but more extremes and radical. I think United States, you know that, right? I don't watch a Fox channel, okay? Fox News, okay? I don't know. Yeah, people have different opinions, but I think when the world and the social media getting more extreme and radical, I think we need to be think more carefully and dialectically as a human being as well. Yeah. But thank you so much, everyone. Let us to give another round of big applause to Professor Bingaman. And right now, we will take a 15 minutes break. Our next section, our keynote speaker by Professor Wen Tangeran will deliver the second keynote lecture to us at 11:15. So let's take a short break and then come back. We will start at 11:15. Thank you so much.